Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Bayloric Worldwide Television. Apologies for those people earlier on watching the stream. Once again, I've had to apologize because the system has crashed simply because of a Windows update. So put that to one side. I'll be back later. Okay, now you're here to watch the broadcast for Brook versus Spence, the preview show. As always, don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments. Most appreciated. We're on the verge of having 2 million views on this channel. It's down to you, so we're thankful for that. 2 million views. We're on the cusp of 2 million, so we appreciate that, and obviously the more people that watch, the better. So get asked the question. I've been asked the question, right? Evening, Charlie, hope you're well. I've asked the question over and over again, what's my thoughts on Brook versus Spence? So I'm going to give you my breakdown of Brook versus Spence. But before I pop off and start talking my prediction for Brook versus Spence, yeah, it's my Twitter account. It's going berserk at the moment. Before I start talking about Spence versus Brook, thank you very much. Before I start talking about Brook versus Spence or Spence versus Brook, I do want to address a few things which are quite apparent within the boxing community. I don't know if it's something that's it's something I'm noticing quite recent. No, something I've noticed a while. When you get a prediction right, back in the day when you got a prediction right, people gave you kudos for getting something right, and they kind of acknowledge that, acknowledge your knowledge in things. Now, I don't know everything. I don't profess to say anything. I wouldn't even say I'm a boxing expert. I'm just a person who enjoys the sport. However, if you get it sensationally wrong or you get it wrong, people are there to say, you got it wrong. But less and less now, people are there to compliment and say, hey, you got that right. And people are quite happy to put comments on, he'll get knocked out, he'll get smashed. And then when you chase them up to find out where they are, they disappear, they run, they hide behind holes. People don't kind of, when you put your prediction out there, people are ready to wait as soon as the fight's over to tell you you're wrong, but very few are ready to say you got that right. So I have to turn things around and say for the minority, not the majority anymore, because I keep saying the same things over Twitter. I say something, I get abused for it, and then afterwards, when I get it right, few people come back to me about it. So from now on, I'm going to take a very narrow view of things, in the sense that for those who are consistently on the channel, leaving comments, consistent comments, engage and have decent conversation, those are people I'm interested in engaging in, hearing their opinion, their thoughts on what I've got to say. For those people who come on the channel to just have a pop and a laugh and to make stupid comments, and you know, first of all, I want to entertain them, and B, your comments not going to be put on the channel because it don't look good, don't look right. So I'm not entertaining it, and this channel's not just a boxing channel, as I'm sure you all can appreciate. So you're back, bro. Love the video, the videos, bro, from Ireland. Which ones, Adam? Early stages, but I'm thinking of Brooks points win, proper 50-50 fight though. Okay, so I want to take you all back a bit. This fight was always there. Brook versus Spence was always around. So Brook versus Spence is very much like Bellew versus Hay. It's similarities. Guy moving up in weight to fight a noted puncher who can cause serious damage. More about Bellew and Hay later. Brook moved up to fight Golovkin, and I have to say, and I will continue to say, and I will continue to say this over and over and over again. Hold on a second. Knew something was missing. My effects. Brook versus Golovkin. Let me take you back to that story where you had people, clowns, that were actually believing that Brook was going to beat Golovkin. It just wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. And it was for money. He wasn't for glory. Oh, let me give him one. Those who are in the room who've joined us, thanks. We appreciate you. So those Golovkin versus Brook. If you just honest, there was no way Brook was beating Golovkin. I mean, if you know your boxing, there was no way Brook was beating Golovkin. Brook was tailor-made for Golovkin. Brook was a small middleweight. He may have been a big welterweight, and attributes for Brook as a welterweight is he's physically strong, he's sturdy. Those were his attributes. You know, he's a pot shotter. You know, he's got decent reflexes. Got away with a lot of stuff because he was a big welterweight. But then when he goes up to middleweight, he's a small middleweight. Okay, and Abel Sanchez knocked it on the head. He said, "Look, you're in 8 to 12 weeks. You're a big, powerful middleweight." No, it don't work like that. It don't. You just pack the pounds on. I put more pounds on, put more weight on, and then, oh yeah, I'm big. I'm bigger. I'm going to beat you. No, because you have to work your way into the weight. Look at Evander Holyfield, worked his way into the weight. Even David Haye, you move your work your way into the weight. You know, you take 3 or 4 fights and gradually. Remember Nigel Benn when he moved from middleweight to super middleweight. The move, the extra 8 pounds or 6 pounds. You know, he wasn't as dynamic a puncher as at middleweight as he was at super middleweight. And it took him time to get into it. You know, because you're getting guys now who coming down. Your Golovkin's coming down from possibly like heavyweight, you know, and then you've got Brook who's coming from middleweight down to welterweight. So understand the scales like that. So that fight, you know, you're fighting the best. You're not even proven to be the best fighter at welterweight. You can fantasize all you want. Brook was the best welterweight in the world based on a promoter's diarrhea. You can base on that, but you can't base it off one fight off Sean Porter. He's the best welterweight in the world, right? I couldn't even tell you that Keith Thurman was the best welterweight in the world. You could say he's among the best in the world, but to say he's the best welterweight in the world when he's only fought one welterweight in Sean Porter, yeah, I mean, that doesn't really quite, you know, that don't make no logic to me. He could be one of the best, but the best, no. One of the best is speculative, maybe, potentially. Let's see what he does against the other welterweights. But to say he's the best welterweight in the world, no. And he certainly wasn't the best middleweight in the world. He certainly wasn't one of the best middleweights in the world. He wasn't one of the best top 10 middleweights in the world. It's arguable if Kell Brook was one of the best top 20 middleweights in the world. He certainly isn't in the top 10 light middleweights. Well, I don't think he's in the top 5. It'd be arguable to say if Brook is in the top 10 welterweights in the world, because you've got to argue whether physically he's strong enough to fight against the elite light middleweights in the world. Another argument. But anyway, I'm trying to put it into that perspective. But anyway, they take the money, they fight Golovkin. Okay? They fight Golovkin in a fight they were never going to win. Never. Right? Brook doesn't hit hard enough as a welterweight. Suddenly he's going to move up because Brook is not there's nothing to suggest that Brook is a world-class puncher. So get that out of your head, because you ask us a question. Well, okay, if you're going to say Brook is a world-class puncher, who world-class has he knocked out? Don't tell me Yo-Yo Dan. Don't tell me Frankie Gavin, and certainly don't tell me who has he knocked out a world-class. Don't say, oh, well, Sinchenko, because Sinchenko beat Hatton. Let's not go there, please. Sinchenko. And it's the same Sinchenko that rocked him. Okay, let's not go there. So don't worry, I'm going to go at Spence as well. So he goes up and fights at middleweight. And in my mind, and quite a few other people's mind, the idea was, look, go out there, give it your best shot, give it a go. And if you're getting seriously hurt, we'll throw the towel in, because we don't want to see you get seriously hurt. Well, he got hurt early with the whole eye socket from round 2, and he was getting beat on that. Okay, he was getting beaten at he was getting systematically beaten. When you got a guy taking your best shots and walking straight forward at you, that psychologically, when you're a guy that, for me, I think Brook is a confidence fighter. I mean, give you all the bravado and stuff. He's one of these guys who's a confident fighter. You're going to say, who isn't? But he's one of these guys that one fight could shatter in my mind, his mentality. One fight could shatter, and it'll take him time to. He's one of these guys that need rebuilding fights. You've got guys like Lennox Lewis and Pacquiao who are mentally very strong, and they get knocked out and they'll come straight back and fight again. I don't think Kell Brook's one of them type of guys. He may prove me wrong. He proved me wrong when he went to America and he fought against Sean Porter. Did a lot of holding when he fought Porter, and the holding was, I would say, strategic to stop Porter from getting into any sort of rhythm. So he tied Porter up, and also the fact that Brook's got zero inside game. So I'd add that as well. So you're like, where am I going with all this? So Brook takes a fight against Golovkin. Now, Golovkin wasn't a mandatory. Golovkin wasn't Brook's voluntary. Golovkin was looking for an opponent. The Eubank fight fell through, so Brook was offered the opportunity. You know, marquee name, and that was Golovkin's first marquee name, world champion, unbeaten. Okay, so you've got that situation there. Brook takes a beating for money. He now still has to fight Errol Spence. Now, for me, personally speaking, you know that Spence is going to be a difficult fight for you. Okay, you're going to fight the world's premier middleweight, take a beating from him, come back down to, and remember, he's struggling at the weight as it is. He wants to come back and fight in light middleweight. He's telling everyone, I want to fight in light middleweight. I've got to wait for my advisors. No, you got to defend your IBF title, because if you vacate your IBF title, forever you're going to be ribbed for not fighting Errol Spence. Now, I feel in my mind, the extension, during that extension time, the first extension was they were negotiating with Khan. The second negotiation, I think, or the extension, was to talk to Cotto to try and get Cotto to fight Brook, to swerve the Spence fight. Now the Spence fight is on. We hope, barring any injuries or whatever else, the Spence fight is on. The only other thing that I would look into is Spence and the whole drug situation, because I heard that he's not signed to WBC and drug testing, something that I heard. Don't know how true that is. Somebody will have to verify that for me. But loopholes, fight in the UK, you know, fight can be, you know, if Spence possibly is, you know, not signed up to the world governing bodies. If you want to swerve a fight, they'll waste swerve a fight. Believe me, I'm just saying possibilities. So until the guy's actually in the ring fighting, that's when you know the fight is on. But date has been announced as May the 20th in the UK. Great, the fight is on. I personally think an unbeaten Kell Brook is a difficult challenge for Errol Spence. A beaten Kell Brook, who's had his eye socket done, that is a different situation. All these people saying Brook's going to win the fight, Brook's going to do this, Brook's going to do that. None of you know the mental scarring that Golovkin fight has done. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. You can speculate, but nobody can go. Only Brook himself knows in his mindset what scarring that fight has had on his career. He may end up being like a Lennox Lewis or a Pacquiao that can get straight back on the horse and fight again. But he might be a ruined fighter. His confidence may be shot to bits, and the first time Spence hits him, he may go into shell. You don't know. Nobody knows that. So he enters this fight as damaged, because I don't care about all the sparring, because you know down at Sheffield anyway, the rule generally is that they don't do head sparring. It's all body sparring. You can agree or disagree with it, but that's one of the things they do. Of course, when he was sparring against Liam Smith, that was head sparring, different matter altogether. But psychologically, we have to take this into consideration when we talk about Kell Brook and the Golovkin fight. You can't ignore the Golovkin fight. You can't tuck it away. He's had no warm-up fight. Okay? He's had no warm-up fight. And you saw against Carson Jones where Brook was. And even the second fight, Carson Jones was still causing him some problems. This is now Errol Spence, who is a good fighter on the inside, can fight on the outside, and can fight on the inside. Now, so for me, Brook is damaged goods. If we'd seen Brook take a fight since the Golovkin fight to see what he's about at a decent level, we don't know. He's jumping straight into world class again with Errol Spence. Now, for Errol Spence, there's a few things I want people to consider. Both Mayweather and Broner, what they have in common, they fought at lower weights. So when you hear stories of Broner getting knocked out in sparring by Spence, Spence is physically a big man. Spence could possibly make middleweight. He's bored himself down to welterweight. He's a big guy. He's a young guy. He's a big guy. Okay? So, say with Mayweather. Mayweather started in a low weight category. Spence, bigger guy. You hear stories about Spence there. Now, the other thing is the Chris Algieri fight that everybody's making a big fuss about. I told everyone Spence would walk straight through Algieri. Algieri can't punch. And again, Algieri is not a big welterweight. Okay, Algieri is feather-fisted. So Spence could leave his chin in the air and walk straight forward. I've said it before. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll keep on saying it. Go back and look at the Bundy fight. There's no way a 40-year-old should be landing them kind of shots on you. Spence, at times, can be defensively irresponsible, which means that he can get caught with silly shots. Now let's go back to Brook. Brook is a sharp counterpuncher. That is Brook pre-Golovkin. Now we're talking Brook post-Golovkin. What does he do when he gets hit on the chin? What does he do when he gets backed up against the ropes and somebody starts working the body? Again, Brook coming down from 160 down to 147. Nobody, again, I've said he's damaged goods mentally. Now emotionally and physically, the man is going to drain himself from 160 down to 147. How is his body going to be? We're already talking about the mind. We're talking about the body now. One from 160 down to 147, and he didn't want to fight at 147 because he said himself he wanted to fight like middleweight. Why was he so pushing for the Khan fight? Well, two reasons. Number one, he knows for a fact that Khan is a bit weak around the whiskers. Two, Khan brings in far more money than Errol Spence does because of the name. But even, Errol Spence, to argue, even at that point, Spence's fight against Bundu was the most highest viewed fight. I think it was on a Sunday. It was viewed. There was more views for Spence versus Bundu than there was Thurman versus Porter. Go figure. So, Spence, I want to see how for me, two things. I want to see what his chin is like against a heavy-handed guy who's a counterpuncher. For Brook, he's going to have to be careful in a number of areas. Spence is a wicked body puncher. That's the first thing. He's a wicked body puncher. Thing was the thing for Brook, I think, that his advantage are that because Spence moves back in straight lines. So when he moves back in straight lines, and Brook has a very nice right hand, that's his pet punch. Is that straight right hand he likes to throw, and he won't have to go looking for Spence. Spence isn't one of these guys that he's not a defensive wizard. I don't think he's a defensive wizard. So he's there to be hit Spence. But Spence himself seems heavy-handed. So it's a very good fight. Could you say that Spence is younger and fresher? You could. He comes into the fight unbeaten. He comes into the fight with momentum. He comes into the fight with hunger and desire. And he comes into the fight mentally and physically ready. Both areas, the champion Brook, you could question. So Spence has questions to answer. What is it like when he gets hit in the chin by somebody who's physically as strong as him? How does he do against a guy who is possibly technically as good as him. Now, World Championship boxing, what you've got to understand is what you do against lower level opposition. When you fight against higher opposition, some of the things and the mistakes you make at lower level, you don't get away with at higher level. So Spence, where he may pull straight back from punching against someone like Bundu and get clipped, he may get knocked out by Brook. So for me, there are so many questions that need to be answered by Brook and by Spence. I lean towards Brook, towards Spence, because you can't say, well, he's an experienced world champion. Really? Really? The experience of getting beat up by a middleweight and, you know, beating Sean Porter, who now Thurman went and did afterwards. So, and even, now here's this. Let me give this to you. If Brook is such a big puncher, Broner dropped Porter. And Broner is not a bona fide welterweight. Maidana proved that to you. So, some things to think about there. Brook is a good fighter, but even you look at the Golovkin fight, when he threw 2 or 3 shots and he was doing what he was doing, I don't think even Brook believed he could do as well as he was doing against Golovkin, because he hit him with 2 or 3 shots. Most of the shots he was hitting Golovkin was to keep Golovkin off him. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the fights, Brook is a reactive fighter. What I mean by a reactive fighter, he's a guy that reacts of what you do. He's not a guy that he's not a guy that engages. He'll engage against guys of a lower tier that he can blow away. But when he moves up, he's not a guy that will engage. He's a guy that will react. In other words, you throw a shot, he'll react off of that. Spence is a guy, from what I see, he'll bring the fight to you using his physical strength, and he can counter as well. So he can come on the front foot to you, and he can fight off the back foot and counter. His defense, sometimes when he pulls back from foot shots, chin is in the air. Look at the Bundu fight. So those are my thoughts on both guys at the moment. How does Spence fight away from home? If the fight goes points and it's a close fight, they'll give it to Brook for sure. But I don't think the fight goes to points. And I think that Spence would be best advised to work the body early. And for Brook, he's got to test that chin early of Spence. He really has. See if he's the room or Koi. So let me just see what people in the room are saying. Those are my thoughts so far. Preview and breakdown. Wow. Room's exploded. Okay. DJ Slick's in the room. Adam Maloney. Adam Scott. Anonymous. Paul Moore. Anyone else in the room who I've seen there? And Phil, Carl, Roberts. So let me just give you all, thank you for being in the room, a round of applause. Great. Now let's go in and let's see what people are saying. Yeah, DJ Six, sorry about what happened earlier on. Once again, blasted Windows updates. I have to fix that. Okay. Charlie Kite, early stages, I'm thinking a Brook points win, proper 50-50 fight though. Really? I'm not sure about 50-50. I think it's a nice catchphrase, but I'm not sure 50-50 this fight. I'm leaning 55-45 in favor of Spence. DJ Six, I think it will be similar to Brook Porter, very close, but Kell gets the nod, scorecards, home advantage. Really? Interesting. Brook versus Golovkin should never have happened. Brook sold his all and his boxing soul. Gravy there, Charlie Kite. 100%, man. 100%. I've got to agree with you at that point. Absolutely. Hi, Adam Scott. So lots of people are saying Kell will get knocked out. I'm not sure unless his eye goes, but think that Spence wins. Current odds 11-10. Spence could get Brook could get knocked out. Spence could get knocked out in this fight as well. So definitely. Yo, yes, Mr. Anonymous. It was obvious money move on Brook's part, because if he was serious, he would have had warm-up fights at 154, 160. I totally agree with you there, my friend. I totally agree. There, There isn't a best welterweight at the moment, in my opinion. They're all quite equal to one another. Carson Jones, LOL. Yeah, that's a valid point, I think. Remember, GGG spars 168 to 175 guys, all the kinds. Kell's power was nothing from. I agree. How will the far going back fit? How will he fare going back down to welterweight, stripping weight? Surely not great for him. That's my point. And people are like, oh, Brook's gonna do this, Brook's gonna do that. Brook might not do shit. Remember Roy Jones? Brook might not do shit. And his eye socket. If I was Spence, I'd target the eye early. Agreed. Delicate area. It could finish off his career. I agree. I remember when Gary Mason fought Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis's team, John Davenport and his team, targeted Gary Mason's eye. How did the fight end? Mason's eye blew up. If Spence targets Brook's eye or his face, and the eye blows up, what are you going to say? Spence will beat Brook on the inside, and he will be too fast on the outside, which makes it 55. 55 will be the size difference. Brook is noticeably the bigger man, more powerful. Well, I don't know about him being the more powerful man. There's nothing to suggest that Brook's the more powerful man. He's got a big frame, but it's not suggest he's more powerful. He certainly would be more powerful, coming down from 160 down to 147. Will he be more powerful man? A weight drained Kell Brook? And he would be weight drained. Well, Ingram, he's technically undefeated at welterweight. I know when people used to say that stuff about Ricky Hatton. Listen, he might be technically unbeaten at welterweight, but he took a shackling at middleweight, where he's meant to be, hey, let me just add this point to you. I've got to add this point, and it's a very good point to add, and I will do it now. And here's my point to that. He's technically unbeaten at welterweight, yes. But remember, Brooks said himself, I'm bigger and I'm stronger at middleweight. I'll be punching harder, and I can't wait to fight Golovkin. So in his mind, he believed he was bigger and stronger, and he would do better at middleweight because he had more weight packed on. And he believed that at welterweight, he wasn't as strong. So he moved up to be a stronger, better fighter. All right? So he keeps saying he's weight drained at welterweight. He tells everybody that. So he moves up to middleweight and says, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm solid, I'm ready to go. So he may have technically not be beaten at welterweight, but he still got beat. Maybe not a welterweight, where he's not at his optimum. So at his optimum, he got his ass whooped. All right? Look at it that way. That's what I'm thinking with Brook. If I were Brooks, sounds like you sound like Bo. If I were Brooks, I'd say to myself, no one will hit as hard as GGG for the rest of my career. Yeah? Well, if he does that, if he thinks that a welterweight, he'll get his ass knocked out. And do you know why? Because speed times strength equals power. And Spence, it's the speed of the punch. Remember, at middleweight, Brook was able to see those punches because he'd been sparring at welterweights. Now he's going back to welterweight. So he may face a guy who hits not as hard as Golovkin, but hits faster than Golovkin. I mean, so if he gets fooled by that thinking, he'd be foolish to think that way. If you fought as a welterweight, that's why Leonard had that advantage going up when he fought Hagler, because he fought guys. That's why Hay has such an advantage when he goes up, because he fought as a cruiserweight. So he's used to seeing faster punches come at him. So when these heavyweights come, they throw the same punch that looks so fast. He sees it like a second, so he can see the punch come and then land the shot. All right. So at that point there, Phil Carl Roberts says, I think Brook may have learnt a lot after it lost. You learn more by losing than you do by winning. Well, again, I'm going to come to that point. Now, you say this, but logically, if you fight a guy that in your heart you know you ain't beaten, you go up to middleweight and you get within the first 30 seconds you get rocked, then you get your eye socket punched up, and then for the rest of the fight you get beat up. What do you learn? You learned that you're not a middleweight. You learned that you fought the premier middleweight in the world. You had no business being in the ring, and you were in there just for money. And you're always going to get beat up, and you knew you were going to get beat up. It was just how you got beat up. Okay, so what did you learn? It was like fight. It's like my pub team playing against Man United. Got smashed. What did we learn? Man United are a better team than us. We're not beating Man United. Not today, not ever. So it's just, you don't learn anything from that experience. What do you learn? You're not fighting at middleweight again. You're not fighting Gennady Golovkin again. We hope you're not. So you're going to go back to welterweight. So you're fighting a 2-weight divisions down. What do you learn from that? What does Khan learn about getting smashed by a Canelo? Yeah, if you drop your hands against the middleweight, you may get away with it. A welterweight, a middleweight, or a guy who's almost a light heavyweight. If he hits you in the chin, you're going to sleep. That's what you learn. So I'm not so sure. Anonymous says you can take losses 2 ways. 1, you can learn, come back better. 2, you can dwell on it, lose confidence, lose the hunger. It's up to the individual what they choose. That's why I brought the comparison of Lennox Lewis and Manny Pacquiao, guys who get knocked spark out and they come back and they still would come back and win world titles, and you just brought it off. Is Brook one of those type of fighters, or is he one of those guys that when they get knocked out and the chin gets checked, that they don't come back? So nobody's going to know till fight night. Nobody's going to know till fight night. And what did David Price learn losing 3 times before he fought Hamer? Sorry. If boxing is your life, there should be only one option. Price was mentally scarred already. There you go. Well, Price was mentally scarred from the first Tony Thompson fight. Price may have been scarred before that. In all the sparring, he was getting beat up by Kubrat Pulev in the amateurs and in professional sparring. So he might have been mentally scarred before that. All that happened is he just got a little deeper and then revealed all the mental issues that were there. So you don't know how badly scarred Kell Brook is. Kell Brook might be scarred, but the scarring may not show until he's deep entrenched in a tough fight where he might not dig no more. Remember, he quit. The towel was thrown in. He quit. And they say once a quitter, always a quitter. And once you throw the towel in once, there's always a possibility the towel will get thrown in again. Dominic Ingle will be in that corner again. So the towel will get thrown in again to save their fighter. Think about that, Brook fans. He lost against Hamer, though. Mental exhaustion, not fitness. Not getting him out of there. I don't think the loss to GG will knock Brook's confidence. It's more the eye socket injury that might knock it. Not knowing how to hold up when in there. No. Sorry, Paul. As far as I'm concerned, that loss to GGG will have knocked his confidence. He went into that fight bigger and stronger. He was complaining as a welterweight he wasn't strong enough. So it's like, or he was weight trained. So it's like me having a mini and going in a race against a mini, and then I'm saying, well, you know what? I'm going to go and charge and get a Ferrari. So I get a Ferrari. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really happy driving this Ferrari now. I'm going to take it in the road, and I'm going to challenge the man at the road who's got a Ferrari himself. So then, well, we're both middleweights. I'm a bit bigger than Golovkin. I'm bigger than Golovkin. That's what everyone kept saying. And then you race the Ferrari in your Ferrari, and you feel you're real bad. You feel you're top dog. And then the guy leaves you in his track, zoom, leaves you. That's more devastating than getting beat at welterweight, because you can always say to yourself, well, you know what? I got beat at welterweight, but I'm weight trained. You know what? I'm weight trained. I'm weight trained. I'm weight trained. But you're not weight trained beating Golovkin, fighting Golovkin. And that's my argument there. It's a real dangerous fight for Brook. 50-50. Best time for Spence to fight him. Adam Scott said that the IBF do check weight So he can't blow up overnight more than 10 pounds. Sounds a lot, but when you struggle to make weight, it's really hard. I agree. If Brook wins, then he should surely face the winner of Garcia, Thurman, or Manny. I felt in my mind, and if you go back and listen to what I said Brook should fight Pacquiao. Brook should fight Pacquiao in the UK. That would have got him out of the Spence fight. Personally, I agree. Brook should work on counterpunch. Welterweight division, hard to say who's the best. So they're so equal to each other. Garcia, Brook, Khan, Thurman, Spence. How would you have called this fight before the GGG loss? How did I call it? Brook was getting smashed to bits. I said it. Probably a good seed room call 2971. Probably 50-50 now. Spence is 60-40 favorite. I think I agree with that one. The first 3 rounds will give us a good idea of who's going to win. Yeah. Does Terence Crawford beat all the current welterweights? Don't know. Where's the manager game at, Ingram? Hey, Marky, what do you want? When I'm playing the manager game, you ask me if I'm doing the boxing. Now I'm doing the boxing, you ask me what the management game is. I can't be in 2 places at once. Although, thanks for the compliment of trying to make me omnipresent. Good to see you in the room, my friend. Ricky, no block Hatton. If it turns into a jabbing contest, Brook loses. Brook needs to take Spence jab away. He needs to take his Spence jab away. He needs to take his left. He needs to take his because he's left-handed, isn't he? He needs to take the left hand away. He needs to take the body shots away. He needs to take his inside game away. Brook pulls away from Spence pulls away with shots with that chin and mullet in the air. I said it already. LOL. I used to be named Bubble Bag Magic. I remember, if you remember past comments, I started a snooker channel. But anyway, fight goes same way as Lacey versus Kazaki, in my opinion. Space ain't the finished article. The problem is that Lacey Kazaki situation is this. Lacey didn't come into the fight having got smashed by 2 weight divisions above. So I think it's a poor comparison. Kazaki was, he was nobody knew what Kazaki was really going to do. That was Kazaki's breakout fight because people weren't convinced about Kazaki until he fought Lacey. Let's get the truth be said there. People expected Lacey to smash Kazaki because he'd already knocked out Robin Reed, who had never been knocked out before. I mean, the way Lacey took care of Robin Reed, I was like, Robin Reed doesn't get knocked out. I'm like, Robin Reed got badly hurt by Jeff Lacey. I was shocked. Phil Carl Robertson, yeah, you learn more, don't you? Do your best Kell Brook impersonation. No, I'm certainly not. Ingram, who wins? Carson Jones versus Spence. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a damn good fight. Brook didn't quit. Dom Ingle quit. Listen, if you understand boxing, before they went to the ring, there would have to be discussion. And the trainer would have said to his fighter, listen, if you're taking too many punches, I'm stopping the fight. And then Brook will say, yeah, I agree. Okay, fine. If I take 2 punches, I'll stop the fight. Okay. And there's an agreement before the fight. Of course, when you're in front of many people, watching you in an arena, nobody wants to look like they've quit in a fight. So for me, it was there. The towel is going to come in. Get your money and run. That's what I thought it was about personally. But hey. And another thing about Brook's development, he fought a whole load of nobodies. And he ran behind the whole mandatory thing when he could have fought good fighters. Imagine he fought a couple more good fighters. It would have helped in his development. You don't learn anything by fighting nobodies. You learn more by fighting better fighters. If you lose, you still learn. If you win every fight easily, you learn nothing. Well, Mayweather won a lot of fights. I didn't think he struggled in. What did he learn? I don't know. Ask Mayweather. Kell didn't quit That's a bit unfair. He was willing to fight on, even though he was taking a bit of a beating. He got he was ushering GGG forward. He would have carried on till he got knocked out. It was Dominic who quit. I think I explained that earlier. I remember Brook only took fight to save face for Hearn when Eubank Jr. backed out. Brook was convincing himself he would win, but before the fight, he always wanted the big payday, so he took it as an opportunist. There we go. The first 2 rounds will give us an idea who's going to win. Do you agree? I think this fight is about resistance. I think when Brook hits Spence on the chin, if Spence doesn't do a funny little dance, Brook's in trouble. And if Spence hit Brook on the chin and Brook can't take the shots, whether it be physically, body shots, or chin head shots, so I think it's resistance. Which guy's got the most resistance between Brook and Spence? Okay, I think resistance is the key thing in this fight. How much resistance has Brook got left after the Golovkin debacle, and how much? And as for Errol Spence, how much punishment can he take in a big fight? That's how I look at this fight. What's left in Kell Brook, and how much? Who wins, Spence or Eubank Jr. at catchweight? It's got to be Eubank, in it, because remember, you know, he could beat Andre Ward, he can beat Golovkin, he can beat Billy Joe Saunders. It's a joke. Eddie Hearn couldn't take, having done all the negotiating for nothing and was under pressure by Sky and HBO. The Brook Vargas fight, he was worried wasn't going to sell. Well, you know that. I'd have to say all the top welterweights have a good resistance apart from Khan. LOL. Suspense is the truth. Then Kell Brook will take another L. I'm interested to see if you're right. Well, hey, listen, I'm telling you, I can't really tell you for surety. Yeah, Spence is going to win this fight, because I gave you the analogy early on. Spence beat up Mayweather and Broner in the gym, but they're both small fighters. They're not bona fide welterweights. They're guys that moved up into that weight category. Whereas Spence is a bona fide welterweight, physically strong, big and strong man, so he can bully the smaller guys around. I want to see how he does against a bigger guy, a guy physically as strong as him. So I don't know. Will you be going to this fight? No. Is Hearn putting this as a pay-per-view? I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it'll be a pay-per-view fight. Of course it will be. Hearn's gonna, at this rate, Hearn's going to lose a lot of fighters this year. You think Bellu's going to get chinned. Crawler's going to get beat. He's not beating, what's his name? Crawler's not beating, what's the guy's name? I can see the guy's name now. Crawler's not beating that guy. Okay. I'd say it's 55-45 in favor of Brook, just because it's a home decision. If it goes to the cards, I don't think it goes to the cards. Sorry. So hang on. If Spence wins, it's because Brook is damaged goods. Oh, if Spence wins, it's because Spence is a better fighter. No. I'm telling you. I'm saying for both fighters, they've got huge question marks around them. I said for Brook, they've both got resistance question marks. I said for Brook, it's how much he's got left. And for Spence, it's how much he's got to give. Now, Spence beats Brook. Golovkin's already done the damage already. So Spence's victory, if he beats Brook, Golovkin's already done the job, right? You can say, well, Golovkin did the job against him. He got beat up against Golovkin. If Brook beats Spence, then it looks better on Brook's resume. That's what I'm saying. Linares, yes, that's the guy. Listen, Crawler ain't beating Linares. So Crawler's not going to beat Linares. Bellu's getting sparked by Hay. Joshua's losing to Klitschko. So it's not looking good. Pay-per-view March 4th, Hay Bellew. Pay-per-view 29th, AJ Klitschko. Pay-per-view May 20th, Brook Spence. That's a lot of pay-per-views. I know. It's going to be a close fight on the post-observation. but Brook has fought a better opponent than Spence ever in GGG. It might be a decent learning curve for Brook. Well, you could say that Spence has sparred Broner and he sparred Mayweather, and Brook's gone nowhere near someone like a Mayweather in class. So I think Spence will learn a lot sparring someone like Mayweather. Just say, Sky need that money. Yeah, they need it back from Joshua fights. I want to see Spence versus Carson Jones. That would tell me a lot. I know what Jones can do on his day. That's why I watch live stream. Yeah, I can understand that. So the whole Spence Brook thing, as I said, for me, it's about resistance. It really is. How much can Spence take? What do I think of Dominic Ingle as a trainer? Not very much. This Dominic Ingle, if I remember rightly, I'm sure I did a video on Dominic Ingle as a trainer. I can't remember. Who's Dominic Ingle had in his corner? It wasn't Brook, it was somebody else. Who was the fighter that Ingle had in his corner who got knocked out recently? Or he looked bad. Was it Kit Galahad? It wasn't Galahad. I couldn't remember it was. I'll be betting on Spence. What are the odds of John Nelson kissing Kell Brook's ass all through build up? Oh yeah, he will do. Carson Nelson's gatekeeper. What the hell's going on with Broner's weight? Broner needs to get stretched. He really does. Adam Etches. Yeah. Adam Etches, thanks for a reminder. Yeah, no, he's a crack coach. For me, I don't rate him as a trainer. I don't. A lot of his hype is because of his father, Brendan. Brendan was a world class. He's one of the best trainers. He's still, for me, the best trainer in England, bar none. Look at what he's done. Look at British, Commonwealth, European world. I think he's won every belt there is out there. Sparring means nothing. Ask Carl Froch, Eubank Jr., mollywopped him. I disagree with that. Sparring means something. Sparring means practice. Sparring means being put your shots together. If sparring didn't matter, then why does every fighter in the world do it? Sparring does matter. Sparring does matter in terms of practice, in terms of skills, and in terms of skills and sharing the ring with someone. Spence would have got countless experience sparring somebody like Floyd Mayweather in terms of fighting a guy who's technically superior to someone like Brook. That's what I'm saying. Technically, he would have faced in the ring, in a squared circle, Mayweather in terms of technicality and technical sparring. That's what I'm saying. So sparring does mean something. But then if you're saying to me that's why I also used the situation where I mentioned earlier, if you were listening to me, I mentioned about Broner and Mayweather. He handled those guys in the gym. Is it because he's a physically bigger man? So technical sparring, yes, he knocked Broner out cold, but he's a big man. So I'm saying to you, the sparring, he would have learned a lot from the sparring. But how much can we take away from the sparring? And I've added a question mark there about him being physically bigger. Do you see Khan Pacquiao fight actually happening after he won that poll? I know the same happened with Mayweather, but yeah, I can see Khan fighting Frankie Gavin. I see that fight. A lot of fighters leave it in the gym, Ingram, on the night, that is. Could be. Kell Brook hasn't really got the Brendan Ingle style like Naz had. Yeah, he's more flat-footed. Brook is more, if anything, he's more like Eubank Senior, physically big, strong, sturdy, more flat-footed. Has zero defense. Brook doesn't know how to fight with his back is against the ropes. Brook uses his reflexes to get himself out of the way of punches. Yeah. So he can't fight on the inside, Brook. He cannot fight on the inside. He'll get beat on the inside by Spence because he can't fight on the inside. So what Brook is going to do is hold. He's going to hold. Brook should campaign at 154. Still big fights. Cotto fight was the right fight for me. Still put Kell versus Spence 50-50 close. Cards, it goes to decision, split decision, Kell win. Nope, sorry. It's not going to points. I just don't see it going to points. You know, remember, I just don't see. I don't see the fight going to points. I really don't. Either Spence is getting knocked out or Brook's getting knocked out. I don't see the fight going to points. There's no challenger willing to pay for the Khan fight. Now he's shit scared of Brook. Win or lose, is this Kell's last fight at 147? We do. I don't know. Spence will look for body shots. Unbeaten at his weight, world champion. He beat Spence for me. Sparring is really important. Sparring is really important. The aim in sparring is to spar against an opponent that is similar to your next opponent. I agree with that. Unbeaten at his weight. No, he's unbeaten at his weight. But I made this point before. That means absolutely jack squat, because at his weight, he didn't think he was good enough at his weight. He said he was weight drained. So technically, like I said before, he didn't feel he was strong enough. So he was at his optimum weight out of his own mouth and got whooped. Psychologically, not good. So you could say he's unbeaten at his weight, but his weight, he said, he's weight drained. So you can't 1 minute say, oh, well, he's welterweight and he's optimum welterweight. But actually, he's not optimal welterweight, because that's why he went up to middleweight. Oh, he fight light middleweight because he's better at those weights because he's a big guy. You can't say that and then turn around and then say afterwards, oh, no, he's unbeaten at his weight. What I'm trying to say to you is he hasn't lost yet at welterweight, but what I'm trying to say to you is that welterweight isn't his best weight. Okay, do you get what I'm saying there? According to Brook, this is. He fought no one at his weight, only Porter, and he hugged the fuck out of him all night. I agree. Spence is no George Foreman. He's still unproven. I still favor Brook. Look, you can favor Brook all you want, but you yourself saying you favor Brook are basing your ideas of Brook pre-Golovkin. So you can't tell me anything about post-Golovkin because you don't know what he's like post-Golovkin. You're not acknowledging the fact that the eye socket. You're not acknowledging the fact that he got the shit beaten out of him. You're not acknowledging the fact that the mental scars that Brook may have. You're not acknowledging the fact that Brook is now coming from 160 to 147. All these things play a part. All these things play a part. You're not acknowledging the fact that he himself didn't want the Spence fight, wanted to fight Khan for more money. Want to fight the Spence fight. That meant coming back down to 147, where he could have fought at 154, where he said himself in countless interviews he wanted to fight at 154. So, nobody thought Brook would beat Porter, but he did. Yeah, he did. But we're not talking about Porter now. You're talking pre-Golovkin. So I don't want to hear nothing about pre-Golovkin. I don't want to hear nothing about Brook did pre-Golovkin, right, for this fight. Because you can't talk about it because he's gone up to middleweight, got a beating, he almost got blinded by Golovkin. So I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about post-Golovkin Brook, not pre, because that doesn't matter anymore. Do you see Brook using the same dirty tactics of constant holding? Because he's got no inside game, so he's going to hold. People hold like that because he's got no inside game. But I will give Brook some credit to that. Not only he doesn't have an inside game, it works well against someone like Porter. Just like when you fight someone like Mike Tyson, you've got to hold them. So you stop the guys getting rhythm. When these guys get rhythm, they can become almost unstoppable. So you have to keep breaking the rhythm and frustrating them. So hold them, break the rhythm, stop them. Hold them, break the rhythm, stop them. Is it possible for a fighter at the top level to do what Rocky did when he was fought Drago and just lock himself away and not spar anyone and just get ready for a fight and still win? If your name's Danny Williams. No, I don't think so. No, it's because Spence has beaten no champions, just only leftovers. Wait, hold on a second. I don't understand how you watch boxing. You can see certain people have got talent. When Crawford had fought nobody, I said Crawford was going to whoop Ricky Burns' ass. It happened. Before a guy graduates to be world champion, he goes through a graduation process. So graduation night is against Brook. That's why the fight's happening. So don't say he hasn't fought nobody. He has fought somebody. He did something that Keith Thurman couldn't do, which is stop Bundu. So he has fought someone. This is the same Bundu that from round two, Spence was actually standing in front of Bundu, and Mr. Thurman was on the back foot running. Well, and then you look at the Frankie Gavin fight. So Spence fought leftovers and Brook fought no one. No Dan and Frankie Gavin. Okay, but Spence is now fighting Brook. Who do you want? Algeria, former champion, and what? I think Brook needed a tune-up fight after the GG fight to see where his eyes are at. Thank you very much. Somebody's talking some sense. Can you eat chilies in post-fight show if Brook wins, if you're so confident? I'm not confident. I'm not confident in either fighter. I'm not confident in either fighter. I give Spence the edge because he's got... I give Spence the edge simply because he hasn't got up to 160 and got smashed by a big punching welterweight, a middleweight. I give Spence the edge because he's young, he's fresh, he's hungry, he has some talent, wicked body puncher, okay? And yeah, I give Spence that edge. There's too many unknowns about, there's more unknowns about Brook. That's why I edge it for Spence. But I'm not like, oh, Spence is going to win. I'm so confident. No, I'm not, because it's graduation night. But I'm just saying, how many years do you think Kell's got left? We'll see what he does against Spence. Spence is still unknown quantity. We don't know how he does against bigger men, physically bigger men. Is it true Spence drops Mayweather's spine? If he did, he didn't. Don't make a difference. Mayweather is not a genuine natural welterweight. Okay, this guy started and he moved up into the weight categories. Big difference. How would a tune-up against a light-fisted bum test the eye at? We can test it in sparring. Well, as you know, in Sheffield they don't like doing head sparring, so there you go. So I think I've stretched this Brook thing out and Spence thing out as much as I can. For those of you who are tuning in, please check out the interview with James Elibashir, the former trainer of Alexander Usyk, and talk about as he talks about how him and Usyk broke up, and talked a little bit about the Klitschko fight and the new South African he's working. The South African he's working with, the heavyweight Ruan Visser, the giant king who sparred with Vladimir Klitschko ahead of Vladimir's fight with Tyson Fury, the first fight. So that's for you to check out on the channel. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have a lot more to say about it. These are my preview thoughts about Errol Spence and Kell Brook. Do you think Carl will finally fight Brook if he beats Spence, or try and duck him again? Well, let's see. If Brook beats Spence, kudos to him. I'll give Brook more credit for beating Spence than the other way around. Back to Football Manager, bro. Yeah, I think let me see. Yeah, I could put in a couple of hours of Football Manager, definitely. Right. For those of you who have been watching, appreciate it. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave comments. Please leave your comments. Share the videos. And I'm only focusing on big fights. So if the big fights are out there, I will do previews to big fights only. So if there's a big fight you want me to do a preview to or breakdown of, let me know in the comment section and I will do it. Right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Great interview with Bashir. Sounds like Usyk thinks the grass is greener. We will be waiting for the FM show. Okay, well, I'll be back and I'll probably do an hour or so. All right. I'll see you guys soon. I'm out of here. Take care. Thanks for being part of the show. We appreciate you.